All right, we are still moving through the first book of the Bible, Genesis, and we are going to tackle Genesis chapter 41 probably in several videos because there's a lot to unpack in here. And I want to make sure that we get it all and understand it. So we're going to start off at Genesis chapter 41, first book of the Bible, chapter 41. And we are going to just walk through the first 24 verses. So where we left off last time, Joseph is imprisoned. He is in the prison. He's in Pharaoh's prison, not in, regular, I got caught, outside acting a fool jail, but he is in the prison, like this upper class prison where the prisoners for the Pharaoh's house and his courts would go. While there, he meets the butler and the baker. They each have a dream, and he interprets the dream for them. The interpretation is accurate, and the butler is asked to remember him. Tell them I'm innocent. I didn't do anything. And so in verse 1 of chapter 41, it says that it came to pass after 2 full years. 2 years since he interpreted the dream that set the butler free and restored him to his prior position, where the butler was asked not to forget him. 2 full years have passed, and he has been forgotten for 2 full years. He spent 2 more years in prison. And then it says that the Pharaoh had dreamed that he was standing beside the river, and the river, of course, is literally central to everything they do. It's for bathing, food, water. It is everything. This is like central to their sources. It is where they pull their water for agriculture. Aquaculture. To make sure they're aggregating their farms and things like that. This is central to their lives. So the Pharaoh is dreaming that he's standing by the riverbank, and out of the river come 7 cows. These are 7 healthy, great looking cows. And they walk out of the river and they go towards like the grazing area where the grass would be. And there are 7 sick looking cows, like starving. You could see their skeleton through them. And they in turn ate the fat cows. So these skinny, sickly ribs showing through their skin looking cows, these starving cows, eat these fat, healthy cows that came out of the water. And he woke up because crazy, right? That doesn't even make any sense. So, and it says he woke up in verse 4. And verse 5, so right away, it says, and he slept and dreamed a second time. So it's not like he had this dream repeatedly over a course of many nights. This isn't a dream that he had on night 1 and night 2. He had a dream. He woke up, was like, that's weird. Rolled over, went back to sleep, and dreamed again. And so it says the second time that he saw 7 ears of corn. And they came up on one stalk, and they were good, and they were pretty. And then there were 7 ears of corn that came up, and they looked dusty. They were dry, small. They didn't carry any nutritional value. Like these other ears of corn were just baked by the sun, ravaged by the winds. This was not a good crop. And so these 7 badly, really damaged looking ears of corn eat the 7 healthy ears of corn. And he woke up again and realized this is another dream. I've gone back to sleep and that was another weird dream. And so it says in verse 8, in the morning that his spirit was troubled. Like he was bothered by this. Like I've had 2 really weird dreams where there is 7 of something that is healthy that's being destroyed and eaten. Not just destroyed, but eaten by these very unhealthy versions of the same thing. And so, of course, he calls all of his people. So when we saw in chapter 40 with the baker and the butler, when they had their dreams, they were like, nah, there's no interpreter here. There are very specific, like, sets of things that people have recorded. If you dream about this, it means that. If you dream about this, it means that. This particular color represents this, or this particular thing appearing in your dream means that. And so they have these kind of set rules, but God gives the interpretation. Your rules don't don't match. God gives the interpretation. And so he calls all of them together, all the magicians, all the interpreters, all the wise men. And the Pharaoh has called them all together and is like, look, somebody tell me what this dream means. I've had it twice. It is very significant. It is bothering me. I need you to tell me what this means. And so it says at the end of verse 8, there was none that could interpret them to Pharaoh. I am certain they gave him answers. I am certain they said all types of things that seemed like it should have worked. I am certain that they had words to give him and he was like, nah, that ain't it. That ain't it. Something is still unsettled in my spirit. Something is still not sitting right with these explanations that you're giving me. And that's something that we have to be okay with. If somebody tells you something, they give you a prophecy, they give you a word, they give you just an encouraging message, and something in your spirit just still don't feel right, you don't have to accept that. You can keep going. You can say, God, I am trusting and believing you for understanding of whatever it is that's going on. And you can say, nah, that ain't right. You don't got to receive it all just because somebody gave it to you. You don't have to receive it. I don't care who it's coming from, whether it's something that should be in their specialty, it's something that they're supposed to be able to do or to decipher or help you with. If they're not capable, please understand you are welcome to say, nah, this ain't it. It's something in my spirit that's still not right. These wise men gave him, it says, there was not one who could interpret it. They couldn't interpret it. Not that they didn't try, that they weren't right. They weren't able to decipher. They weren't able to say something that made it sit in his spirit and be true to him. So if it don't sit in your spirit, sometimes it's gonna convict you and you're not gonna like the way it feels, but you gonna recognize that it connects. Sometimes it just don't connect. And then when they don't connect, go and let it go. So in verse 9, it says, then spoke the chief butler to the Pharaoh, saying, I do remember my faults this day. He said, I messed up. Oh my goodness, I messed up. Pharaoh, I remember I made a mistake. There was a man in prison with me when me and the baker were in prison. There was a man there. We both had a dream. We both needed to know the interpretation of that dream. And we couldn't figure it out. And there was a man in prison with me who could do it. He could decipher, he understood, and he knew what the interpretation of that dream was. And it says in verse 12, it was a Hebrew, a servant to the captain of the guard. And he interpreted the dream for both of us. One when it was good and when it was bad. He interpreted and it was 100% accurate. It was true down to the number of days that it was going to take for it to happen. He remembered him 2 years after the fact. 2 years after the fact. Like I said, sometimes God has to work some stuff out of you. He got to work it out. And we can't always be in a position to move. Sometimes we have to be in a position where we got to wait on God to do the thing. In verse 14, it says, then Pharaoh sent for Joseph, and they brought him out of the dungeon and shaved him and changed his clothes. He'd been living down there his whole best Hebrew life. He got curls everywhere. He got a full beard. He wearing the clothes of a prisoner. And you cannot walk into the presence of a king dressed like that. You can't step into the presence of the king like that. So with this, they brought him out and they helped him to get presentable. This right here is not a, you can't come to God because I ain't clean. My clothes old and dirty. My hair not cut, I can't go to church. That's not one of these moments. What it is pull yourself together. Pull yourself together. And it says they brought him hastily out of the dungeon, and he shaved himself. He cut off the prison. He got them prison clothes off. He got that extra hair and everything that he let grow in, because I ain't gonna see nobody anyways. He took off prison, prepared to walk in the presence of a king. He took off prison. Sometimes when you are not feeling your best and you are sick and you're not really, feeling that strong, you will throw some medicine, you will wash your face, you will pull yourself together, because I'm going to get out this house and get some sun. There are times when you are just having one of those days that's just, you feel like the worst version of yourself. And you be like, you know what? I'm just going to do my hair and put some makeup on, because I'm going to put this depression off. I'm going to take it off of me. I'm not walking outside in this same thing. Now, if it's going to follow me, it's going to follow me, but it's going to follow me praising God the whole way. But he took it off. He was like, I'm not coming back here. I don't need this no more. I don't need to leave on the clothes of a prisoner, because I'm not coming back to prison. I know that. Once they let me out of here, I'm out. God is delivering me. But we got to be prepared for that deliverance. Once they let you out, be ready for life on the outside. Don't just drag through. I mean, I might have to come back. Nope. If I got to come back, it's starting all the way over fresh. Put it off. Take off the old look of prison and be prepared to walk into your new. So they bring him before Pharaoh. And in verse 15, Pharaoh says, look, I've got a dream. Nobody can interpret it. They say you can interpret dreams. And Joseph says in verse 16, it's not in me. God will give Pharaoh an answer of peace. God is going to put you at peace on this. He's going to give you the answer that you're looking for. God is. Now, when he was talking about the dreams way back, because this is the third set of dreams that he's going to talk about. The first set of dreams was several chapters ago when he was talking about dreams to his brothers. He came and he told them the dreams and was like, guess what I dreamed, y'all? Boom. That's me. That's the subject of these dreams. And that's when the sun, the moon, and the stars bow to him. When they're all out, they all have these sheaves of wheat, and the brother's wheat bows to him, and he continues to stand. Like, he came out real bold and assertive on that one. Like, oh, look at this dream that I've had. Look how wonderful I'm going to be. When the butler and the baker have their dreams, he said, God is going to give the interpretation. Tell me what your dream is. Let me hear your dream. Okay, yeah, I got that. I got that one. But when Pharaoh tells him his dream, he says, God will give you an answer of peace. God will do it. And so Pharaoh explains to him the dream. He talks about being on the bank of the river, and that the 7 cows came up and they were healthy and they looked great. And then 7 more cows came up and ate the healthy cows. These 7 sickly, ribs showing through the body cows come up and eat the other ones. And then he said, I've never seen an animal so sick, so weak, so hungry. I've never seen something this bad before in all of Egypt, because we do this well. We got money here. We got food here. Our animals don't look like this. And then he said, after they ate them, they still were weak. They didn't get stronger. They were still weak. They had eaten them. They had done this, but they didn't get bigger because of it. And he woke up and he said, look, in my next dream, I saw 7 ears of corn on one stalk that were good and healthy and looked fantastic and were ready to be picked. And then I see 7 that come up that are withered and thin, and they look wind torn and sun beaten and all those things. And it says that these ears of corn came up and ate the healthy ones that had been there before. And he said, I told this to every magician, every interpreter, every wise man, every advisor. I told it to everybody. And They couldn't figure this out for me. So we're going to stop right here on this one. We're going to make a part 2 that kind of details the rest of this dream and the interpretation. So what I want us to remember is sometimes we need to understand the answer is not going to come from the people around us. It's not going to come from the sources that we're familiar with. It's not going to come from that. Sometimes these answers are going to come from a direct conversation with God. We're going to have to get alone and get quiet and allow the Holy Spirit to interpret. That we cannot continue to do things the way we used to do them. That we cannot just hold on to the things of the past and feel like, no, if I just sat and thought about it long enough, it would come to me. Nope. Sometimes these things are going to need to be a little bit more. The people around us, even if when they mean us well, are just not going to be the right ones for this. So, quick recap. Joseph is in prison. 2 full years have passed since the butler and the baker have told him his dreams. He interpreted them, and they actually lived out his interpretation. And Pharaoh has 2 dreams. One, there are cows that come out that are healthy and look great. And then there are cows that come out that are sickly and look starving. And they eat the healthy cows and remain kind of in a starving state. They didn't get any better. And then then the second dream is that there are 7 ears of corn that come up, and those are healthy and look good and ready to be eaten. And then there are 7 ears of corn that come up that look a mess. They are wind torn and sun beaten and not fit for food. And they eat the healthy ones and again stay the same. And so Pharaoh has called out every person that he can to interpret these dreams, and they cannot give him anything. Sometimes you're going to call on people and they're not going to be able to give you a word because the word is coming from the wrong place. It's not the person. It's not that right person. And so at this point, the butler remembers. He was supposed to remember Joseph, and he remembers Joseph at this point and was like, hey, there was a guy that was in prison that was good at interpreting dreams. He told me that I was going to be restored. He told the baker what was going to happen to him, and it happened exactly the way he said. And so Joseph is called for out of prison. Joseph cuts his hair, gets his clothes changed. He said, let me take off this prison because I ain't coming back here. And so he gets out there and he hears Pharaoh's dreams. And we end at verse 24. We're going to pick up in the next video with the actual interpretation of the dream. So you guys, please understand and remember that when you need a word, go to God. Trust that God is the person that's going to deliver it. He will use people. It will not always be the same people. Do not feel like you got to go to the same person every time. There is a new word. And you need to be open and aware and be ready for it. And also, when God pulls you out of prison, when God gets you out of that situation, take that thing off. Do not be dressed and ready just in case you got to go back. Put on some new clothes and expect a new season and a new wave and a new situation. Y'all be blessed.